And here we are. Welcome to this week's Coffee Talk. For this month's Coffee Talk, actually.
Yeah.
This month we're pretty off script. It's gonna be pretty casual, as you can tell.
Yeah.
I have pie. I'm gonna be eating. We're gonna be talking about our group's investigation at the Cresson Asylum out in central Pennsylvania. We're also gonna discuss our last investigation here, or the last two investigations here at Boobies. And Meow will go to
Don't even.
Mallory.
Oh, okay. So, what do you want me to start off with?
Well,
I'm being interviewed this week, so
yeah.
I'm not in my normal position
and we
of having to interview everyone else.
We have Dale with us this time.
Yeah.
He's normally behind the camera. He's out here in front of us because he and Mallory actually attended the Cresson investigation. I did not, so I'm going to be playing the part of the audience, and I'll be asking the questions because I have absolutely no clue what the place is about.
Sure.
So we'll start out with Cresson. And Mallory, you want to give us a little history on?
Yep. So it was kind of a last minute trip. Melissa and Jerry and me or Dale and I went up to Cresson, which is in Lilly, Pennsylvania, near Altoona, kind of by Penn State up that way.
Up Penn State College.
So it's a pretty big area. Do you want to talk about the buildings? There's a lot of buildings.
Oh, I mean, the place is massive. It was huge. We didn't even get to half the buildings. I mean, I think we only got to maybe 4, maybe 5 at most. I mean, there's a lot to unpack there.
Well, huge. How big is it? How many buildings?
I was going to say there.
Is it like a complex? Is it one building?
Yeah, so it's set up like a prison. So Cresson Sanatorium was 3 different places, all within like a 20-year span. So at the time, how it's set up now is like a prison. So you drive up this hill in the middle of nowhere, and you turn down this creepy driveway with just stone, and you pretty much see the wired fence. Like you're going to
You get
jail.
the whole prison. When you pull up there, you get the whole correctional facility vibe. Still pretty much looks like a correctional facility. I mean, it only shut down in 2013. So
okay, but from the map that we just saw a second ago, it's out in the middle of nowhere. Like right there at the top off the highway would be the road you were talking about, the access road.
And it's literally just one way. So at one point it kind of splits off.
Like right there. You can see where it splits.
Yeah, and you're just heading back, and there's just trees everywhere, and you turn left down this just pebble road, and there's like a house. There's one little house back there where I guess the people that like own the property now or take care of it, they kind of stay there.
Well, you can kind of see it right there off of the it'd be to the right of the viewer off the road right there. Yep.
Yeah. And then it's just a prison.
Yeah, just setting the scene is pretty much, it's like it just looks like something you would see out of like one of the seasons of The Walking Dead when they're in the prison. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. Yeah. But we can dive into the history if you want.
Okay, well, we got the call on a Friday night. It was a spur of the moment thing.
Yeah.
I was unable to attend because I had to go to Philadelphia the next day, and this is out by Altoona. So you guys, how far is it from where our home base here in Lancaster?
It's about a 2.5-hour drive.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe less.
I
made it in an hour.
Yeah,
and a half.
we made really good time.
Yeah, going up there. So we went on just a Friday night, and also kind of when you pull up to the prison, you don't think there's that many buildings, but there is. So you kind of see like the main building, and then you see like once you start walking past and going through it, you kind of look up on a hill and you just see the rest of the buildings, and it's a lot of walking.
Everything is pretty much hidden behind like the main entrance there.
Main building.
Yeah.
Okay. Which was building 2, which is just the gatehouse. That's where
we checked in.
We stationed.
Yeah, we checked in. We set up camp there. We got the whole waivers, all that type of deal.
So like that would be at the that would be like the beginning.
Okay. So and I was gonna say what is really cool about that building is when you go in, I actually have a picture later on one of the slides. You don't have to show it now if you don't want, but there's actually the old like phone booth in there, like where the prison, like the inmates can make their phone calls to like their spouses, whoever comes in to visit them, which is really neat too.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, so we've made it to the main building, the gatehouse.
Yeah.
So let's get let's get the history.
Sure. Do you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, we started off a little late. We run into a little bit of issues. People got a little bit late, but other than that, we got there. We got we got in. They allowed us to come in, which was awesome, to explore the grounds while it was still daylight, get pictures. We were able to do all that, which was awesome. I mean, they didn't have to let us do that, but that was amazing of them.
But let's hop back to the history first. So it kind of goes all the way back to 1916. I know it seems pretty far back, but and it started with the I can't even say this word. The philanthropist, Andrew Carnegie, and he was actually he opened the Cresson Tuberculosis Sanatorium, and that was in 1916. So it started out originally as a tuberculosis hospital. So they picked this area, which is kind of a fun fact. Because it's in the middle of nowhere, up on a hill, and they thought tuberculosis, which is kind of like an airborne disease, or it affects like coughing and respiratory disease. That's what I was.
It was
thinking.
huge back then.
Yes. So
That's what Doc
I
Holliday,
lost my
That's what Doc Holliday
train
thought
of thought there. So they opened that, and so where was that? Oh, the fun fact. They picked that area in the woods because of the high altitude, but also like the clean air that's up there. And they thought their treatments are best if they're outside and they're taking in that fresh air to help them, recover from that disease. But then we get a cure, at least a medication to help us control tuberculosis. But so it didn't really help, but I guess it kind of did, maybe just getting that fresh air in. But
okay, so it started out as a tuberculosis ward.
Hospital. Yep. And then it went to 1956. It started as a mental hospital
with the addition of like the new modern medicine and all the types of things they were introducing in science and medicine. I mean, they just had to turn it into a mental hospital.
For dealing with all the sicknesses and everything, and families would stay there too. So they had, for the tuberculosis, they actually had a building for the children, and they had like their families, like if both parents had it, and they were getting that therapy and everything there, their children had to have somewhere else to go. So they had a whole bunch of different buildings to keep the family kind of there together going through this. But and then leading that, they turned it into a mental health facility. After that, it was 1982. Around
1983.
It turned into a prison.
And it wasn't a mental hospital for too long. I mean, it became a prison.
You want to elaborate?
It became a prison. All male prison. I mean, that's what it still resembles today. When you go in there, you see all the prison stuff. Like I'm referring back to like just like kitchen things, like they would have like where you would place the things on the wall. They'd have the outline so that they could do count and make sure that things weren't taken by the prisoners. So that was really cool, even to see like all that stuff.
Okay, so we've got it from then to now, and we're
and then the prison closed in 2013. So
okay.
And also between those time frames, they were adding more buildings on as well. Because of the prison, they had to remodel the whole hospital to turn it into that by adding cells and fencing and all of that, just to make it that prison.
Well, they converted a lot of things into like now like more like things there are like those almost like pop-up trailers, and like they have a lot of those around.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, does it nowadays, does it have any use other than just as an investigation spot, or is it like a Halloween haunt or anything like that these days?
Yes. So they do the paranormal investigations there, Halloween haunt, which in the building 1 is the administrative building, and we didn't get to go into it, which is like the coolest building. That's what you see on their like website, is the big building, and we didn't get to go in there because they were turning that into a Halloween event, and I think that goes through like.
We have a bunch of pictures too. We have some of the administration building.
It should be building 1. It's administrative education building, and then.
Well, that's pretty typical for these places now.
Yeah.
They're used as Halloween haunts. Like when we were in West Virginia, the West Virginia State Penitentiary was used as one. We ended up in a room with all the props when we were in St. Albans.
Yeah.
They had the clown.
It's the popular thing to turn these haunted places into a haunt too.
Yeah. Oh, and then now too, they what is it called?
Hydroponic.
Yes.
Like they grow strawberries. They have a strawberry farm there.
They took one of the trailers down and turned it. That's what he told us. They were turning that into a strawberry at that time.
Oh, okay.
But they grow lettuce and hemp.
Okay, I was gonna say as soon as you said
Yeah.
hydroponics, you know
Yeah,
what I think
we
of
did
now.
that.
When you
Yeah,
pull when you
well, there
pull
was
in
a lot of weeds there, so
when you pull in now, like you pull in, you see the big
You
hydroponics
didn't get
sign
mine.
thing, and you're like, it's like, okay, what are we getting into here? But then you get back there, and like you said, you see the prison, you see the fence, the
Right.
barbed
that's the
wire.
picture of that's building
Yeah.
1 that we didn't
Very
get a
dramatic
chance to
picture.
go in there. I know Dale and his photography.
I'm
Dale's
big.
laying
I
down
like
on
to
the ground
get
for
I like
this.
to get different angles. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that was one of the that's the building 1 that we didn't get to go into, which is really cool, and the structure of it.
Now I'll say when we do want to go back, and when we do go back, hopefully we can get into that building because that building's huge. I mean,
Yeah.
Okay.
you could spend hours alone just in that building.
In all the
probably.
buildings,
Yeah.
I think. Oh, sorry.
No. So we got there,
Yes.
and now we're
We
getting ready
checked in,
we're getting
we're
ready
ready to
for we're getting ready to check in all of our equipment. We're ready to go. And where do we hit first?
Well, we walked around. We took some pictures. I don't know if you can start the slides. It's slide 1 with all our pictures. So we just took a bunch.
Yeah, with the limited
building
daylight.
1.
With the limited daylight we had left, we started to take pictures. Try
building
to get
2 there. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. That's where we started. That's the main hub where we all kind of met. And the cool barbed wire fence. And the fencing goes around everywhere. The gates were shut. Like the only way out was through building 2. And that's what I was talking about earlier. The old the phone where you pick up the other phone and you could talk through, and that was really neat too to see in that building.
We have a question from Andrew.
Hi, Andrew.
Hi, Andrew.
Oh no.
What kind of energy resides in Crescent Hills? That's up to you guys.
Sure. So there wasn't a lot of people, like teams, that have investigated this place.
Yeah, it's fresh place.
Yes. So when we got there, the spirits weren't familiar with our equipment. They didn't know us. So a lot of the energy, I felt like they were following us. They were kind of testing us out to see what we would do. I don't think there's any negative energy. It's just kind of more curious. Their curiosity was like, who are you people and why are you here trying to talk to us, because we don't know you.
Okay. I will say, like, when we were walking around, and like, I don't feel things much, I don't see things much or anything, but when we were walking around, you could feel, like, in some of the places, like the cell blocks and things like that, that somebody was watching you. Like, it felt like especially like up in the second level of the cell block, like you could feel like people were, leaning over the bars or something. You just watching you, like if you're a fresh inmate coming in there, like they're just curious to see what's going on. Like they're not, like she said, they're not very familiar with our equipment yet. When we go back, we'll try to take a different approach and like teach them more with the equipment and see if we can get more results.
Like, whereas here is like, we could say, can you turn on the flashlight for us? And we do have pieces of equipment here. So if they do go off and we don't see it, please comment and let us know. But it will happen probably. But yeah, here we could say, oh, can you turn the flashlight on for me, and see if it goes on. And there, it was more like, we have a light here that if you twist it a certain way, it can light up depending, you can make it brighter or less bright, So it was more, I felt like I was talking to like an elementary school kid. Well, like I was trying to explain.
I was going to say, I mean, it definitely felt like there was all different age ranges there. I mean, you could feel like almost there was presence of kids inside the chapel. And then you had the presence of the grown adult males inside the prison, cells. And like, like it just felt like you could get anywhere from a kid from 5 years old from an adult male up to 70s, 80s, just like that could be there.
And you don't know what era either. Like you don't know, I guess not era, that might not be the correct word, but like you don't know if it's someone from the tuberculosis hospital that's trying to reach out, or someone that was mentally ill that was in there at that time, or even just the prison. Like
it has a lot of history to it. Very rich in history. A lot of
different areas too. And they
all right.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go right ahead.
No, I was going to say, even the coolest thing to me was that they built on an automotive shop because the prisoners would actually work on cars there, like to get, I don't know, to learn like that.
And get extra money. Like,
yeah.
Do you think the spirits would be more interested in the old style investigation rather than all these new gadgets? I like the old style investigation.
Yeah. Cat balls. Yeah. They did do a lot. Oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
So I felt like a lot of, if we had anything, it was like the flashlights going on. If we did like EVP sessions.
Yeah.
And so I think those type of things would be helpful, at least to start there. I don't know what.
I'm laughing at Jerry.
Oh.
He's behind the monitor.
I also feel like because the place only did shut down in 2013, so if we're picking up on any like
it's
energy,
fresh.
yeah,
Yes.
it's very fresh.
Yeah,
That's why I
and
like.
there were still papers there.
Yeah.
Like we found a log for prisoners on like how many prisoners were in that area at that time, and it was really cool. Like I wish we could have taken some of it, but that that would have been bad.
Believe me, I can tell you, number one, what it's like to bring a souvenir home from a place like that. You don't want that, especially not especially like with all of us, doing all this all the time. So let's get into your investigation.
Yes,
We've got there, and we got our stuff checked.
Yes.
And now we're getting into the first building. What was the building that you first got into?
So, we took a bunch of pictures, and then we walked up to building 5 and 6, and that was the kitchen inmate dining room.
Yes.
And it was also the Frick Hospital Administration building.
5 and 6. Can we put the map up?
Yep. And actually, you can. I was gonna say if you want to pull the map up first, and then we do have some pictures as well. Of building 5 and 6, you can see there's a big 5 on that slide. That's that building. But that building was pretty cool because it was like the gated kitchen area where all of that equipment was. Like there was an old fryer sitting in there too, like which was really neat. And so when you go into building 5, you head up these little steps, and as soon as we got in, Melissa had felt something down, or you just were picking up on something in the one hallway. We kind of all separated. So the group, there was probably maybe 7 of us, I think 7 or 8. There was girls that have never investigated. They were like teenagers, and they were a part. So Chris Hammond was there, and Kelly, and it was us 4 then, and we kind of all branched off as well. And so we were kind of guiding the girls too on how to investigate. So we all stuck together for this building just to see what we could get. It was pretty quiet.
Are we able to zoom in a little bit on this map?
Oh yeah,
Chad?
I don't know if you can click on. It's okay. I'm just kind of rambling through number.
No,
I will say, like, a lot of the people, like especially more of the girls, and maybe this is because it was a male presence. Maybe it was.
Yes, that's building 5.
Maybe it was more of a male presence, but a lot of the girls particularly looked down this one hallway when we entered that building. So it felt like something, spiritually or energy was down there. And I didn't see anything. I don't think Jerry did either, but it just, maybe it was something like.
So like to me, that would be a weird mix with, you have young girls there, and you have a former prison with male inmates. There's a lot of potentially a lot of negative energy involved with that situation.
Well, because there
was
some of the prisoners were serial killers. Some of these people did bad things. Like lots of bad things.
Any famous folks? And do you know if there were any famous folks incarcerated there?
I don't know.
Okay, I was just happened to be a good. I'm still eating my.
No, that's okay. Yep. So we walked in there. You go up a set of steps, actually on the right hand side, which was really cool. I had a picture of it, but I took it out of the slides. There was a door, so it looks like someone sat behind like a gated thing and was giving like mail out. Like you would put it in a little door, and then the person on the other end of it would kind of lift the flap, and the mail would come out the other end.
Yeah.
So I think that was more the administrative side of things. So, or even if prisoners came in and were collecting their mail that they had received. Because there was also stations. It kind of reminded me of like a bank teller at one point. So after the steps, you can go down the right-hand side. There was a couple administrative offices on the left-hand side. If you went down the hallway, you would turn left. And there was also, it reminded me of a bank because there was little teller windows. And I think those are kind of where they did the sorting, like the mail trucks would back in there. That's where everything was at. So that was an area as well, or possibly medication area, because there was, there was like screens also, like wired, like they had the windows covered a lot.
Okay, so you guys weren't there alone. Who all from the team was with you all?
At that point, we were all.
Oh no, you mean
well, I mean the event at the event.
It was just Jerry and Melissa.
Just Jerry and Melissa and you two. That was it. There was nobody else that went.
I mean, Kelly and Chris Hammond were there, and then Chris Hammond's guests were there as well.
Okay,
but from our team, it was just me, Mallory, Melissa, and Jerry.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So you had both ends of like the people that do this all the time to the new
novices.
So in the beginning, a lot of it was us kind of guiding them on, okay, this is how we ask questions. This is what we do, and they would. bumped something, and we were like, okay, you have to tag, like, because here there was a lot of areas where you would hear knocking at an end of a hallway, and we'd like go down there and be nothing, and it's like you would hear knocks everywhere.
A lot of noises at this place. I will say that one of the biggest things was noises here. I mean, when we're just sitting in the prison area, you could just hear what sounded like people maybe walking around upstairs.
Okay.
And I mean, I thought that was pretty cool. And none of us were upstairs. We all were downstairs. We had equipment upstairs. Like,
all right,
yeah,
so
we'll
you
get
guys,
to that after.
you guys started out in building 5. Jerry, Melissa,
Yes.
what building did you guys start out with now?
We were all in building 5.
Oh, you all were in one
Mhm.
big building, all in the same building?
Yep. And then after that, we kind of did split off because we kind of wanted to do our thing too as well.
we were with Melissa and Jerry.
Yeah, all 7 of us were in building 5.
Mhm.
And then after that, Melissa, Jerry, Dale, and and Kelly, I think as well. We all ended up splitting up at one point.
Yeah, and Chris and his group of people, they went to a different area.
Yes. But at that point, we went down to E, which was the prison, prison.
Prison.
That another building?
Yes, that's
Building
a whole
E?
different
Okay.
building. So the grass there, the paths were almost hard to walk down at some point because the grass was so high, like they did not mow or anything.
A lot of it's overgrown.
Yes,
Okay.
and it was pitch black outside. All you saw was like a couple stars in the sky and the moonlight, and you had one dinky flashlight, and we're all like together just walking down this.
We were saying that
pathway.
poor Jerry was out like, looking around in the dark.
Yeah.
He's way up looking for a path, and Jerry's trying to find like a path that we're.
He's like, I'm going to find the board.
He says, I
And
know,
he's, like,
I know
walking
I know
down.
it's this way. It's got to be this way. We're like just trying to find it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into what did you experience there? Let's get into your actual experiences.
Yes.
Okay. We've gotten into the buildings
Sure.
and we've
Buildings.
started our investigation. So let's get into your experiences now.
So each building, I mean, it's easier for each building. Like building 5, we did a EVP session. I don't think we picked up on anything. It was quiet. It was dead quiet. Nothing there. Oh, yes, that's right. So
There's Dale.
he was in jail. Okay, so there was in building 5. We heard whistling down a hallway. So we were all standing in the kitchen area, and we were running that EVP session. Then we heard the whistling down the hall. And I think we were trying to see if there was any like shadows or anything, because that's the other thing is it was just very like someone was following us the entire time. And all of the females at some point were like, I'm getting touched on the back of my neck. I'm getting touched on my leg. Like felt like someone was watching you. And so we just would stare down this hallway, and I was, even I was just like trying to look for someone to like pop out, because we heard the whistling down the hallway, but I think that was the only thing we got in building 5. When we went over to the prison cell is where we had a lot more stuff happen there.
Yeah.
We had, I think that was a comment. Do you want to?
I could talk about my personal experience in the prison.
Dale is kind of, I don't want to say he's a skeptic, but he's never had any.
Well, is there power? Is there power to these buildings, or are you just wandering around in the dark out there between
with the
15
moonlight.
buildings with the moonlight and Jerry's flashlight be bopping around?
Yeah,
pretty much.
That was pretty much it.
I don't have a lot of personal experiences happen to me, so when I do I find it, 10 times more amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So we were all sitting in the prison block, and I was in the back corner, like by myself, kind of more. I was like near Melissa and Jerry a little bit. They were a couple tables away. We were all kind of spread out evenly. It was nice. We were running EVP sessions. We were just sitting there.
Do you want to show the prison? Yeah.
We were just being quiet and just listening, just listening for things, just seeing if anything happens.
I think Dale's actually in the back corner. I think Melissa took this photo, and he's like in the back table. Or was this?
Oh, that's one picture. It looks like a split picture. Sorry,
the
left hand of the left hand side.
So actually, on the right hand side is the entrance. Melissa was in the back corner, facing forward.
On the right side.
Yes, yeah. So you were
Left side, sorry.
Yeah, you were more on the left there, but that's kind of how the setup was on both sides.
Yeah, I was in the back left corner. I just felt like someone was staring at me and watching me.
Right.
And I just couldn't keep my eyes off like this just one area in particular in the back corner. And it was when I was hearing also, like at the same time, I was hearing footsteps and like shuffling above me on the second floor in that back corner. And I just glance over into the cell, and it looks like a shadow of someone, like, you know, almost like just leaning up against their cell, like just kind of like looking out, looking around, just being curious. And I was locked onto it for, I don't know, a solid 10, 15 minutes. Just, I didn't even move, say a thing, because I swear I wasn't seeing anything. I took a couple pictures, shot 3 in a row. When I look back at them, nothing's there, no shadows, nothing. But I just know something was there because I just feel the energy. I felt like there was a presence watching me, and it just felt like we were making eye contact the whole time. And it just gave me goosebumps. And it was cool though. It was awesome.
Well, we have the whistling, and then we
Yes.
had your experience with this shadow that you saw leaning out. What was next? What else?
So in that same area where we had a lot, we had lights going off, motion sensors. We were all kind of stationed in that picture. We were all stationed at a table.
Yeah.
That's where we were sitting. I was on one side with Kelly, and behind us we kept hearing someone like moving around, and the light would go on. Since we were all on the bottom floor of the prison on side B, up top, what Dale said, there was people, we just felt like people looking down on us. And I think at some point Jerry must have went up too to look, and then he also went back to the men's shower area just to check if anybody was back there.
Yeah.
And there wasn't, and there was definitely knocks, a lot of knocking in cells we could hear. And I don't know if that could be like the piping, because the old piping, but it was actually really weird too, because the toilets were red there. So I think all of that like mineral was still like, that's how
sediment,
fresh. Yeah. Like that's how crazy it was, how fresh it still was, but it was still deteriorating at the same time.
Now we keep mentioning Kelly. For those of you that don't know, that's Kelly Miller. She's a friend of the group, and she has her own podcast. What's the name of her podcast? The Maven Medium. You know, by all means, go check her out as well. I just wanted to make sure that we didn't, kind of forget about her. We keep mentioning her, and I don't know if everybody knows who she is.
It's just,
Going back to like the sounds of like the people moving, it like, you know, like how prisoners, like most of the time they wear like, you know, slides or sandals. That's what it sounded like. It didn't sound like
shuffling.
It sounded like shuffling of like sandals, like a little bit, like just rubbing against the floor sometimes, like. So
That's,
it was very
perfect how
distinct
it sounded.
sounds like that I was hearing, and like.
Okay.
Yeah. And then what else? Oh, it was a lot of touching still. Like I was getting touched on the back of my neck. I don't know if this was in the church or if this was in the prison area. It was still a lot of like we were physically being touched. Like it felt like spider webs on you. And I was getting that tingling feeling on the back of my neck and my like hair standing up, especially in that cell. And I think as women now knowing, because when we went, I wasn't 100% on, if women were here or if it was just men. And now looking at the history, because this was kind of like a last minute trip. So we just kind of went up and we were going to see what it was like. Now knowing it was just men, I think, you know, they were watching us women and just curious, and it gives you like the goosebumps thinking about it. Like as a woman sitting there, and you have these big men in these jail cells, like just watching you. And that's what it felt like. And I know Melissa at one point thought was it like a guard or something that was possibly there? You felt like a presence of this big like guard that was there and just watching, and to me, it just kind of creeps me out a little bit.
I'll say, well, you mentioned the church, the chapel. There was a chapel on the property, and it, you know, it was
that was
cool.
The next location. I think after we did a little bit of exploring in some of the other buildings, we were looking for the morgue. So after the prison cell, we went to the morgue to find that, which ended up being.
Did you find it?
No.
Jerry, did you ever find it?
Was.
Okay.
Did you ever find the morgue?
Yes.
While you were
Was
there?
it?
Yes. It was building 7.
Okay, that's what it was. That's what I thought. But it's labeled as the maintenance area. So it was like the bottom floor, and it kind of was like a long cooler. And I think that's why that was the morgue at that area. But there we did a little bit of investigating, but didn't get anything. And we kind of left that building. But a lot of the old like pieces of equipment and stuff were there too, like shovels, and they had like black outlines of where each like item was hung and stuff. And I actually opened the breaker box when we were up there, and there was an old like sign. I think that was the breaker box. When I was like, oh, there's a paper in here, and it had everybody's like signatures on like who worked on it and at what time and stuff, which was really neat to see.
Well, it's a lot different than going to a place like St. Albans, which has been closed since the 1980s or prior, or down to Pennhurst, again closed in the 1980s. But Pennhurst until recently was full of like those records that you were talking about.
Yeah.
I met a guy that was in Delaware, and he did the asbestos remediation there, and he they ended up removing a bunch of those records. But it's a lot different to go to somewhere that was actually just active than it is to go to a place like St. Albans or to the
and I think
West Virginia State Penitentiary,
is seeing those old papers there, and like people, it just puts history in perspective too. Like people were actually here, like working, and I think it's really neat. But so what are we?
I was gonna say, when you're in the prison block, like you can see like that the freshness still of it, how it only closed in 2013 because the prison block itself is still in such good shape. I mean, it does like you can walk around upstairs and like not feel like you're going to cave through the ground, like the floor, like it.
The walls were peeling, but that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
But
that just happens over time.
So after the prison, we kind of walked back. We saw the morgue, and we also saw the boys' dormitory area as well too. And that was a part of, I think, the mental facility when that was built. Some of the buildings were part of the prison, but this, like the two buildings, I think where the morgue was outside of the gates. They had a gate open, but you could still see like the wires on top. But we went through, and they were outside that area because there was a wall too, an old wall there with graffiti, which was really cool. Okay. So it was like an actual brick wall.
Can we shoot that? Can we see the map one more time?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of like I said, there's a lot of buildings we didn't get to.
Yeah,
so
it's I have the same map in front of me. So where we were, building 2 is where we came in. It was building 8 or 7 and 7, I think, was where the morgue was. That was maintenance. So there's like a little path. It's down towards the bottom of this, down that way. And there's a building there that's the boys' dormitory, I think, or the housing unit. I think that's where they kept the male housing unit. Is that D?
Yeah, that's the big building that looks like it's a V in the bottom.
Yeah, so
the bottom center. Well, if you reorient,
I know I'm looking at my map too.
Like that.
The map is huge, and even some of the buildings when we got there, he was like, "Oh, you can't go in here." So we had to cross like 6 buildings off because they were being like remodeled or the haunted attraction that they were doing. So Jerry was our map guy the whole night. So he was like, oh no, it's building here. We got to go this way. And then he'd run his little, with his flashlight up the area, and we're like, we're coming, like that kind of thing. So after we saw those areas, we took a couple breaks in between, and we came back, and we went to the last place was the church, the chapel. To me, I feel like that's always an interesting place to investigate. That's the chapel.
That's the chapel.
Picture, yes, at the sunset.
We'll wrap it up with the chapel now. Yeah. And we'll have that was the last place that you went.
Yep.
Anything in there?
I think it was just a lot of noises still. And there was where we felt a lot of touching on our legs.
Now Jerry and Missy have something to add now. So
yes, they're kind of in the corners here, but you want to step out here on the screen?
Yeah, come on. All you gotta do is get over here. Talk. Like in this area over here, you're fine.
Yeah.
There you go.
I know Jerry did, right? Yeah, that's a good picture to.
Yeah, so I was sitting on the second tier on the left side, toward the middle. And everybody else was off to the left side toward the windows. And I thought Melissa walked up to me. So corner of my eye, I'm looking toward the altar with the thermal. So in the corner of my eye, I thought Melissa was standing there thinking, all right, Jerry can't hear. She's been yelling for me. So I turned, and all I saw was this body right here. And I could see black shirt, black pants, and like a white belt. And I looked, and everybody else was like, that was it. And then it was gone.
Yeah. That was
pretty cool.
So we got a partial apparition.
Yeah.
Yes.
From you, and then the shadow figure from you.
And then the creepiest part of this whole thing.
Thank you, Jerry.
Yes. Thank you for popping in. Yeah, the creepiest thing too was the tunnel that ran from the chapel to the administrative building, which is the big building we couldn't get into. That's building 1, and to building 5 that we were able to, the administrative building.
It connected all three of
I was,
them.
Yes,
I was
there
going to
is a
ask, a
picture
complex
of
like
the-
this usually has a tunnel system.
Yep.
Yeah, and I refused to go down there because I had a really bad dream the night before that, like, I had a claustrophobic dream that I was like, I'm not going down in the tunnels. That's part of
There's
the
the
tunnels
tunnels.
down there. And Melissa was like, you wouldn't have liked it. I was like,
So again,
yeah.
no light, so the tunnels
No.
would be pitch black. Like the
Mhm.
tunnels would
Yep.
just be absolutely inky black. And
Yeah.
I've been in situations like that before in both coal mines and in tunnels like this, and it's disorienting to say the least.
This one went downhill too.
Mhm.
Yeah. So when you went down the stairs, you could go right, and that would take you to the administrative building, building 1, or I think that's where Dale, Melissa, and Jerry went.
Yeah, it was locked. We
Yeah.
tried going down to it just to see,
But they
it
closed it
was
off.
locked.
But just
For
imagine
Halloween.
I
how
locked it from the inside, which
Yeah.
sucked because I was pushing when I thought I was getting excited to get it.
Yeah, it didn't look like it was gonna give at first, and we're like, no way.
But just imagine,
It was-
like, how long of it, like that's
Yeah.
quite a distance to be underground like that. In that, yeah, a quarter
Yeah.
mile in that inky blackness would be.
I mean, we got
Just
there pretty quick.
awful.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this seemed like we should be walking. 'Cause I knew the distance from the chapel to there.
Mhm.
I'm going,
Yeah.
wow, we walked pretty fast. But it seemed like it should have been longer, but it wasn't. So.
And then Chris Hammond and his guests, the girls, went the other direction. And then Kelly and I actually stayed up in the chapel. And at one point, we thought we were hearing people coming through the chapel door. But there was a lot of things like people were on their phones. And it was one of those things where because at one point I had gotten up and I was like, oh, I think I hear something, but I couldn't tell if it was them coming back towards us or not, or if it was someone who had their phone on and speakerphone. And it was just kind of like one of those things where, yeah.
Well, the downside of not having a field manager putting stuff together for you, if you got that going on.
Yeah.
I'm just going to self
I think just if
for
you're
a
going to
moment.
separate from people, like just give a time frame and just be like, hey, I'll be back in 20 minutes and set a timer. And then if we hear something, it's so much easier to debunk those things and know, okay, these people weren't coming back through the tunnel, or it wasn't,
Well,
someone
that's
on the
important
phone,
when you're
so-
trying to do stuff like
Yeah.
this, is to be able to know where the sound. That's what was so maddening at West Virginia. Now, you guys weren't there. I keep referencing West Virginia.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting that you guys weren't
we
there.
were on a cruise.
But unfortunately, you guys were on a
I know.
cruise. But that was so hard about West Virginia when you had just people doing whatever they wanted and going wherever, and you just couldn't get anything. So that pretty much sums it up. Does anybody
Yeah.
have anything else for Cresson?
No, I
Anybody?
definitely think our
Anything?
team needs to go back.
Yeah, I agree.
Each of us could have our own building by ourselves. That's how big this place is, and it would be awesome. And I definitely think if we can get the spirits there
that would be
to
crazy.
learn how to learn the equipment, I think they would have a lot of activity there. I think they have a lot of history since it was built. There was 3 different things happening, at this entire time, and buildings being built or taken down or remodeled. So a lot of activity can happen there, and I think it's a good place for other teams to look into as well.
Okay, so
Yeah.
the contact information, if you're
Mhm.
another team watching us, by all means, reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to pass on the contact information for the folks there. And I guess now we'll head out to the last 2 investigations at Boobies, so that we can get into the stuff that we've brought with us,
Yeah.
so I can be involved in the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the 2 videos are you and I too that
Yeah.
we have to
Yep.
share with everybody.
Yep, I shot
So-
one of the videos and I'm actually in
One of the
one
videos,
for
yeah.
a change. All right. So the
Do you wanna-
first video is going to be the one of you, and that's
Okay.
from 2 investigations ago. It's not last investigation,
So
investigation
I
prior.
can just do kind of a little recap of what's happening, and then we can play the video. So
Okay.
I'm actually up here in the ballroom behind us. So there's an area behind here.
I got my tan, by the way.
Where I was talking to Ani and Tekla and Pauline. I think we got Henry at some point. It was like the whole family was gathering.
It
back
seemed like there was
here.
you'll hear
It
me
was
say
like
in the
a
video.
party.
Yeah.
Yeah, because all flashlights were going off. There was 2 flashlights back here. One where usually Ani is at with her doll, and then one on the table, and then we had one at the bar
Bar,
area, which is in that direction, if you can see. But yeah, if you want to play the clip, I'm just kind of talking, and we're trying to get them all to interact, and they did.
Wow.
If you want the doll, the flashlight that's with the doll for yes, can you turn that on, please?
You want that one to be no. So please turn it on.
So are we identifying this as no?
It's almost as if we have multiple people here answering questions for us.
I know. Bonnie, if there's 2 people here with you, can you turn the flashlight on to let me know? About 3 people here with you. Is there 5 people here with you? Can you turn the flashlight on? There's 5.
A whole bunch of folks here.
Yeah. Let's see who's on here with you. Ani, is Tekla here with you? Can you turn the flashlight on if Tekla is here with you? Thank you. All right, turn that off. Can you turn the flashlight off for me, please? Ani, can you please turn that off for me? Do I need to count? I feel like a mom. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Tekla, if you're here, can you make that flashlight go off?
Oh,
Tekla.
nice. Thank you.
Oh, we were 2 seconds early.
I know.
Story of my life.
So it's a pretty cool video just to capture all of the flashlights individually turning on by themselves.
Right.
I think
That's
pretty
a
cool.
trimmed down version of
Yeah.
that was the 25-minute video. So we had that one
the
on.
music box.
Yeah, that went on for quite some time. We had plenty of music box action,
Mhm.
the flashlights. We didn't get any cat ball in that video. Now that's two investigations ago. What else did we get? Because I remember there was a lot in that investigation. That was when the paranormals investigators of Middle Pennsylvania was with us.
Yes.
So, and they're going to be with us on our next investigation. And we're looking forward to that and getting some good footage from that. But down in our first interaction down in the Alois bar.
Oh yeah, we
Was
had
good
2
with them.
guests do
On
the
the
Halo. Yeah, and they both had the same experience of what was it? They felt like they were it was heated on the back of their neck.
Yeah, they were getting touched.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
which
every
is really
time somebody walked out of the room, there was a scream that came through the earpieces.
Jamie
And-
and I also had stuff through the Halo down there.
as well. That was the night for the Halo. And then at that point too, I think we had even Pauline and the girls down in the bar, which is very unusual at that time because when they were doing the Halo back there, I'm not sure because we were getting other people out on.
Well, there was a lot going on in the catacombs that night as well. That was 2 investigations ago. I don't remember the other groups. We have members
you
of the
were
other groups. Yeah.
Was it Henry maybe or no?
I don't think it was.
Carl.
It wasn't
It
Nev.
was
Carl.
Carl.
Yeah, it wasn't
You were
Nevin. It
getting
was Carl.
Carl.
Yep, down
Yeah.
in the catacombs.
Because you had the flashlight going off both of them.
Right
back and
on both
forth.
ends.
Mhm.
Yep. So that was 2 investigations ago. And were you with us then? You weren't with us.
No,
that
I wasn't at that
investigation.
one.
So then this last investigation again was a very good investigation.
Yeah.
We had a fantastic group that was incredibly interactive,
Mm-hmm.
and especially here with Alois, we had a German speaker
Yeah.
that was able to communicate with the family in German, and at least up here in the ballroom, we got a lot from him. That's where I was. That's where I was with that group. Was up here in the ballroom. That's the video you're going to see next. No, I'm sorry. That wasn't that video. Down in the next video is going to be me playing poker. That was our first group downstairs when we were trying to get something to happen down in the Alois bar again.
Okay.
And we ended up down there. It was me and you that time,
Yeah.
Chad, and I started shuffling cards on the bar, and next thing you know, I'm playing cards with somebody on the bar and going with the flashlights. If you want to hit that video.
Taking their money.
All right, here we go. We'll give you a second to look at yours. I'm gonna look at mine. Not as good as last time. You gonna stay in? You want to stay in? Turn the light on. Temperature like that. AC means business in here. Thank you. All right. You're in. We're gonna go to a flop. Turn the light on. Queen, deuce, queen. Jack, deuce, queen. Jack. Jack, well, it's 3. Jack, 3, queen. Turn the light off. I can't play if you got no communication equipment. I'll wait on you. I'll wait. Thank you. Jack, 3, queen. You want to stay in? Go ahead and turn the light on. We'll give you about 30 seconds. Go and turn the light on. See if you want to keep playing. So I checked you. Let's see another card just for the heck of it. It's king. Keep playing? Or fold? Turn your flashlight on if you want to keep playing. Now turn the flashlight on. I'm going to fold your hand. All right. We'll see what the last card is. I'm going to fold your hand anyway. So it's a 10. So we got 10, Jack, Queen, King, 3 on the board. You good? You want to fold? I feel as if you want to fold. So I'm folding your hand. Okay.
Go ahead and turn the light off. We're folding for you.
I ended up winning with a pair of 10s. I got it on the river. You didn't have nothing, so I mean, it's a good idea to fold. Go ahead, turn it off. Turn it off.
Oh, preacher's back.
Thanks, preacher. No, the preacher's back.
Oh, preacher's back.
As you can tell, I'm very excited about the preacher in that video.
You're like, oh, he's here.
The preacher's
Great.
back. At least it wasn't Alois.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. So that was our big deal in the Alois bar because we left shortly after that and we went to multiple. That was when one of our newest members, Courtney, she got thrown out of the Peacock room, which is the room where Alois died. We had some flashlights set up and a cat ball by the door. We had a lot of cat ball activity. Yeah. Activity in this last investigation because we had a cat ball set up by the door and some flashlights set up in the room. And we weren't getting anything. And then Courtney asked if we were talking to Alois and if Alois didn't want her there. And that was we got a very definitive answer. And then next thing was the cat ball at the door saying like, showing her the way out. So she beat feet out of the room. And that was the end of our, pretty much the end of our session.
Yeah.
In the picture.
Just come say hi.
Yep. We indoctrinated 2 new members to the group this last investigation. Come on.
Yes, you too.
This is that was Courtney, and this is her husband, Justin.
What's up? I'm Jay.
Thanks for having me.
That's not a camera trick. His eyes are tattooed. Just before the questions start, we'll just get that out of the way. So, yep, those are our 2 newest members, and you've been with us the last couple of investigations too. Like last time was the first actual investigation you participated in with us, but like you were a guest in the 2 prior to that, correct? Yeah. I think it was the 2, and then Courtney's son Parker is a member of our Boo crew. He was the first one to get a certificate from our event in January for the kids. So they're a whole paranormal family. So anyway, back to the investigation here at Boobies this last week.
Yeah.
So
I mean-
we got a ton downstairs, nothing in the canopy room. So much for my group, but the Peacock room and the Alois bar. Did anybody else get anything in the Alois bar that was of interest?
Yeah.
No.
I don't.
The catacombs were the big place. Like we had a lot of activity.
Yeah.
There was a lot of SLS activity
Yes.
in the catacombs. And actually, Justin, it was you that was watching it on the SLS. Like, didn't you have the big SLS experience, or wasn't it your group?
No, that was us. Team 3 for
Or
life.
Team 3? Okay,
Team
so
3 for life. That's
go ahead.
Andrew, Dale, and I.
Go ahead and tell us
We had a crazy night.
To start off, like catacombs isn't usually a huge hot spot for I feel like most of
Yeah.
us. So that was awesome that
It's
that was
hard.
a hot spot. But we got a lot of K2 action, a lot of SLS action.
So we were in the vat
Mm-hmm.
room. There was probably 6 guests with us.
Yeah.
Up to the vat room to talk to no, not Henry. I keep saying Henry.
Charles.
Charles.
We had the group
yeah.
with this gentleman that spoke German.
Now tell him who Charles is.
Oh, Charles was one of the workers, and he was actually crushed by one of the barrels down in the vat room while he was working. And we actually captured on the SLS, it looked like his legs were bent, and he was kind of reaching out for help. I don't know do you have that video? Okay.
No.
So you can see that actually on our Facebook page, and I posted that on TikTok as well. So follow us on TikTok also and Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I have all the videos on there too.
Mallory
But,
is now
yep.
since our last broadcast, Mallory is now our social media
I got upgraded.
contact. So she's our social media
Yes.
director.
Go
for the
like
group.
us on all social media
Yeah,
platforms.
follow us on TikTok. There's some fun videos, and we've been taking a lot more videos and posting them on there also as well. But it's on there, and you can see one of the guests is holding the K2, and he's kind of leaning he has his arm out towards the barrel,
Mhm.
and you can see it lighting up all the way to red at one point. And then Andrew, like a little girl, is like, "Oh my God, it's in red!" And like, I'm
He's
waiting for
probably
him
one
to
of-
comment.
He's probably one of the 2 people that are still watching, and
Yeah.
The way-
like, you just called him a little girl.
The
We're down to
way-
one person.
Haven't lost
The way it synced up was so cool
He
too,
was like
because
so happy.
on the SLS, I mean, the way the gentleman with the K2,
Yeah.
it looked like they were reaching out for each other, like they were like touching each other's hands, like it looked like he was reaching for his hand with the K2 in it, and that's why it was jumping up.
Was what you were seeing responding to command? Were you asking?
Yeah, I
for-
think he was
Mhm.
like, "Oh, like take my hand." You can see it on the SLS a little bit as well, the stick figure. So that also verifies too that we're seeing something there. His legs are bent. It looks like he's under the barrel, and our guest who spoke German is like reaching down, trying to help him out of the barrel. And I think at that time, all they did was drink beer. They didn't drink water, so he was probably drunk enough.
When he passed,
Yeah, that he just kind of didn't know what was going on, and so that's why you could see like the legs bent and everything. So everything in that video kind of verifies what we were talking about and what we were seeing, and it was to me, I think it was really good evidence, and
Mhm.
it seemed like all the guests were great too, and really enjoyed it. And
Well, we had
Good
that's not the first SLS experience we've
Yeah.
had down there. Matt, do you remember our Matt's here from last time? If you remember, we have a big group of us here tonight. But do you remember during our private when we were just us as the team was here, and it was we were in there with the SLS, and you were standing behind me with the and somebody had the SLS on the other side of the room, and there was a third figure in between us, and the one hand was on my shoulder, and the other was on had its arm up on yours. You could see 3 figures in between. And it was right at that third barrel, like that third one that's where we think that the injured. I think it was you.
Well,
Could
and
have
that's
been.
I'll say-
interesting too, because I mean, if his arm was on your shoulder, maybe he was just trying for help. Like, it just seems, I think like verifying too that he was trying to get you maybe to like pull him up or.
I remember that because it was right after you were faking about going to crawl into that space.
Oh, that was a while.
That was a while. It was a while ago. It was the last time we
right.
did a private here.
Yeah.
So, for us.
He's definitely one of the more consistent, I feel like, spiritual energies we have too. A lot of times you take the SLS there. I mean, it's not always, and nothing's guaranteed. Nothing's ever guaranteed, but a lot of times you're picking him up on the SLS, and it makes out very, very well. Makes the guests happy too, which is
And
awesome.
we're learning his story too, and we're figuring out the little pieces of, okay, that is him laying there, and maybe he just wants our help, and maybe that's gonna,
Well, we actually moved into like a couple of areas that we don't normally move into investigation wise. Like I know up here in the ballroom, we got into asking about Mary, that one of the oldest daughters. She's the one that killed herself. And that was the first time I remember anybody asking about her. But then at that point, everything stopped. Like nobody wanted to communicate at all about her, and it got kind of uneasy. And that was the same group. That was the group with the German speaker.
Yeah.
That really interactive group. Actually, all the groups were pretty good. This last investigation. We like when I ended up in the catacombs, it was just Chad and myself, and we were down to 2 people in that last group. And it was the young lady that was in the Marines and her boyfriend, the skeptic, her boyfriend.
Oh yeah, and they actually caught
yeah.
stuff too. Back here, they had the music box going off because I remember coming up the steps and I heard her whispering back there and talking and trying to get anything to happen. And the music box was going off for her, so I think that's great too.
Yep, she got some flashlight activity down in the catacombs that she couldn't. Her flashlight too. That was the best part. It lit up
That's
her
awesome.
flashlight and not just ours. So.
And that's the best thing about here is that, okay, we can come every week or every 2 weeks and talk to these spirits. They know us, but they're also willing to talk to people that haven't been here before, and they're willing to communicate with them. And I think that's pretty cool as well. So you can build that relationship too also. It's not, they just don't want to talk to us all the time.
So make sure you grab some tickets to our next event.
Good segue.
Yep, we'll segue into closing this out. Our next investigation is this coming Saturday on the 10th. No, not this next Saturday on the 10th.
Yeah.
And because the Saturday is tomorrow, the 3rd. Next Saturday on the 10th is going to be our next investigation. Right there is the website. So that's the brewery's website, correct? And that's where you would go to get the tickets. You could also get the tickets from our website. You want to switch over to our Facebook page?
Yeah.
Okay, so we get our Facebook page also has the links to the and the various team members always share out the announcements. We have a number of tickets sold already for next time, so
we have plenty available. So make sure to get them.
There's our Facebook page. All of us looking like serial killers. All the males looking like serial killers. Like we're getting we have a growing female contingent on the team now.
Right.
So when Alois has a problem with the ladies, he's got one more to have a problem with.
Yeah.
You got 4 now. You got Andrew.
Oh,
Right.
I didn't count Andrew. That's right.
So with that, we want to thank Cresson Sanatorium
Yes.
for having us out there. And like I said, their information, you can get their information from us. We'd like to thank the Hershey Company for sponsoring us. We're going to be in the Columbia Halloween parade at the end of the month on the 27th of October. We're going to be, our theme this year is going to be 90s horror movies, and we're going to be running around giving out candy.
A lot of candy.
A lot of candy. Thanks to the Hershey Corporation for sponsoring us there. And on Saturday, the 8th of October, we're going to be at the, I'm never going to pronounce this correct, Alba Twitch Festival in Columbia, the Pennsylvania's Little Bigfoot Festival. So come on out and see us there. And that's it, because the
are we the t-shirt with the tickets as well?
What's that?
Throwing out t-shirts.
I don't know if we're gonna be.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll be.
Yeah, we are
throwing
for
out
the
t-shirts.
Parade.
Mallory won't be, but the rest of us will be. Mallory nearly blinded Jerry last year, and so she's on.
Just watch out for me in the parade
this year. And we also have we have the raffle going on. You can buy tickets to win. What do we have? We have a K2,
flashlight,
a voice recorder for EVPs. It's not an EVP, and a mag light.
Andrew's getting burned a lot tonight. That means he's supposed to be here.
So yeah, we can.
That something super secret in the works.
And we got something in the works, and actually, and coming up in November, we have our last winner is going to be getting their prize and leading the investigation on November the 12th.
Yeah,
Andrew,
Andrew, sure.
Andrew.
All right. He said it's definitely an EVP.
But with that
Yeah.
said, it's been David. This is Mallory,
Yeah.
and that's Dale.
Dale?
And you have to say, just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not there. So,
Thank you.
for tuning
Thank you
in.
for watching.